The morning sun cast long shadows across Ika High School's assembly ground as Nana smoothed down her freshly pressed uniform for the 100th time. Just weeks ago, she had worn the prestigious cream and burgundy colors of Victoria Noble Academy. Now, here she stood in Ika's simple blue and white, feeling the weight of countless eyes upon her. Whispers rippled through the crowd like wind through tall grass. "That's her, the new girl from Victoria Noble. I heard she got kicked out. Look at how she stands. Like she's better than us." Each murmur felt like a tiny needle pricking her skin, but Nana kept her chin high, her face a careful mask of composure. She had practiced this expression countless times in her mirror at home, determined not to let them see her crack. The assembly ground was nothing like Victoria Noble's manicured courtyard. Here the concrete was worn and patched in places, and instead of neatly arranged chairs, students stood in loosely formed lines under the unforgiving sun. Yet there was something raw and real about it all that made her heart beat a little faster. Mr. John, the principal, was a tall man with a stern face that seemed carved from dark wood. When he stepped onto the makeshift stage, really just a slightly elevated platform, the chattering crowd fell silent. His voice boomed across the field without need for a microphone, commanding attention through sheer presence alone. "Good morning, students," he began, his words clear and measured. "Today we have a new addition to our school family." Nana's heart jumped into her throat as he continued. "Nana, please come forward." The sea of students parted as she made her way to the front, each step echoing in her ears. She could feel hundreds of eyes tracking her movement, judging everything from her carefully braided hair to her polished shoes, remnants of her old life that now felt like a costume. "This is Nana," Mr. John announced. "Joining us from Victoria Noble Academy." He paused, and Nana could sense the unasked questions hanging in the air. Why would anyone leave Victoria Noble for Ika High? What secrets was she hiding? "I expect," Mr. John continued, his voice taking on a protective edge that surprised her, "all of you to make her feel welcome." Standing there under the scrutiny of her new schoolmates, Nana felt something shift inside her. Victoria Noble, with its pristine halls and polished reputation, had been a golden cage. Here at Ika High, despite the whispers and suspicious glances, she sensed an opportunity for something she'd never had before, the chance to be herself, whoever that might turn out to be. As she walked back to her place in the crowd, Nana squared her shoulders. Let them whisper. Let them stare. This was her new beginning, and she was determined to write her own story this time. Nana slipped into the classroom like a shadow, choosing a desk at the back where she hoped to escape notice. The wooden chair creaked as she sat down, and she winced at the sound, feeling it draw unwanted attention. The familiar comfort of invisibility she sought, however, was shattered when a girl with vibrant red hair dropped into the seat beside her. "Hi, I'm Amaka," the girl announced with a smile that seemed to light up her entire face. Her uniform was slightly rumpled, and her tie sat crooked, but there was something genuine about her that made Nana's tight shoulders relax slightly. "You're the new girl from that fancy school, right?" Before Nana could do more than nod, a sharp voice cut through the classroom chatter. I bet I know why she left. The boy stood up from his desk near the front, turning to face the class with a smirk that made Nana's stomach clench. "My cousin goes to Victoria Noble. Says there was a huge scandal about a girl who was sleeping with teachers for grades." His eyes fixed on Nana with cruel certainty. "Bet that was you, wasn't it?" The classroom fell silent, the kind of silence that feels like a physical weight. Nana could hear her heart pounding in her ears as every face turned toward her. Even Amaka, whose friendly smile had vanished, was looking at her with wide, questioning eyes. "That's not true," Nana said, surprised by the steadiness in her voice despite her trembling hands. She forced herself to meet the boy's gaze. "Those were just rumors. I never did anything like that." "Sure," he scoffed, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "That's what they all say. Why else would you leave such a great school for this dump?" Amaka leaned closer, her voice barely a whisper. "Is it true? Did you really?" Nana stood up abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor with a sound that made several students jump. "I said it's not true," she repeated, her voice stronger now, fueled by the anger and hurt burning in her chest. "I'm here to study and learn, just like the rest of you. What happened at my old school is in the past." Just then, their class teacher walked in, ending the confrontation. But as Nana sank back into her seat, she could still feel the stares and hear the whispers. She opened her notebook, trying to focus on the blank page before her, but the words swam in her vision. One morning, and already her hopes for a fresh start were crumbling. Yet as she sat there, forcing herself to breathe steadily, Nana made a silent promise to herself. She wouldn't let their rumors define her. Not again. This time she would write her own story, one day at a time. The weeks crawled by like tired snails, each day presenting new challenges that made Nana miss Victorian Noble's polished halls and state-of-the-art facilities. In chemistry, where her old school had gleaming lab equipment, here they shared basic supplies between 4 students. The textbooks were worn, their pages dog-eared and marked with notes from previous years. Yet somehow, these battle-scarred books held a certain charm. They told stories of students who had come before, who had perhaps struggled just as she did. During mathematics, Mr. Adelek posed a question about quadratic equations. Nana's hand twitched, the answer dancing on the tip of her tongue. But then she heard the sharp intake of breath from somewhere behind her, followed by a whispered show-off. Her hand slowly descended, her correct answer becoming another casualty of her desire to blend in. She watched as another student gave the wrong answer, the knowledge sitting heavy in her throat, like an unspoken secret. Lunch became the loneliest hour of her day. The first week, she tried sitting at various tables, only to watch students shuffle away or fall into uncomfortable silence. Eventually, she claimed a spot under an old mango tree at the edge of the schoolyard, far from the bustling cafeteria. She would unwrap her lunch with careful movements, pretending the isolation was her choice. But one day, a familiar flash of red hair appeared in her peripheral vision. This spot taken, Amaka asked, already settling down beside her with the casual grace of someone who belonged there. Her lunch was wrapped in yesterday's newspaper, and she spread it out between them like a peace offering. I thought, Nana began hesitantly, after what they said about me. Amaka waved her hand dismissively, her bangles jingling. Look, I've been thinking, she said, breaking her meat pie in half and offering Nana a piece. Those rumors? They don't match the girl I see struggling not to answer questions in class, even though I know you know the answers. They don't match the girl who helped Janet pick up her books yesterday when everyone else just walked by. Tears pricked at Nana's eyes, but she blinked them back. You noticed that? I notice a lot of things, Amaka said softly. Like how you're trying so hard to be invisible when you should be shining. She bumped her shoulder against Nana's. So want to tell me the real story? No judgment, just listening. Under that mango tree, sharing a meat pie and stories, Nana felt something shift. Amaka listened without interrupting as Nana explained everything: the jealousy, the lies, the betrayal that had driven her from Victorian Noble. When she finished, Amaka simply nodded and said, their loss is our gain. Now, are you going to help me with these impossible math problems or not? For the first time since arriving at Ika High, Nana's laughter rang out freely across the schoolyard. Perhaps, she thought, this was what real friendship felt like. The afternoon sun streamed through the classroom windows when Mr. Sam made the announcement that would change everything. He stood at the front of the class, his enthusiasm evident in his bright eyes and animated gestures. Listen up, everyone, he called out, holding up a colorful flyer. The state writing competition is coming up, and the winner from our school will represent us at the state level. His eyes swept across the classroom, lingering momentarily on Nana. This is a prestigious opportunity. I expect your absolute best work. Nana felt her heart flutter. Here it was a chance to prove herself, to show everyone who she really was beyond the whispers and rumors. That night, she sat at her small desk at home, a blank notebook open before her. Her pen hovered over the paper as memories and emotions swirled in her mind like autumn leaves in the wind. For the next 2 weeks, she wrote with fierce determination. Every free moment was devoted to crafting her story, pouring her experiences of judgment, redemption, and resilience onto paper. Amaka would find her during lunch breaks, still scribbling away under their mango tree. You're really going for this, aren't you? Amaka asked one day, peering over her shoulder. I have to, Nana replied softly. It's time to write my own narrative. When results day arrived, Mr. Sam stood before the class with a stack of papers, his face unreadable. I've read all your entries, he began, and I must say I'm impressed. But one story stood out above the rest. He paused, building tension. The winner is Nana. The initial silence was deafening. Then came the whispers, like insects crawling across her skin. Of course she won, probably used her old tricks with Mr. Sam, bet she didn't even write it herself. That evening, Nana sat at her family's dining table, pushing food around her plate. "Mom, Dad," she began hesitantly, "I won the writing competition today." Her parents' faces lit up, but she continued before they could celebrate. "Some students think I cheated. They don't believe I could have won on my own." Her voice cracked slightly. Her father reached across the table, squeezing her hand. "Nana, we know how hard you've worked to turn things around. Don't let anyone make you doubt yourself." The next morning, she arrived early to find Mr. Sam in his classroom. So she said, her voice trembling slightly, "I heard some students say I might have cheated. I want you to know that I didn't. Every word was mine." Mr. Sam looked up from his grading, his expression serious but kind. "Nana, I never doubted that for a moment. Your writing has a unique voice that can't be faked. It comes from a place of truth and experience." He smiled warmly. "Don't let anyone dim your light. You earned this victory fairly, and you'll prove it again at the state level." Walking out of his classroom, Nana stood a little taller. She had found her voice, and soon everyone would hear it. The library became Nana's sanctuary as she prepared for the state competition. Surrounded by towering shelves of worn books, she immersed herself in studying past winners' works, analyzing their techniques, and refining her own story. The musty smell of old pages and the quiet rustling of paper became her constant companions. One afternoon, as she sat buried in her notes, a shadow fell across her table. Looking up, she found Chidi, one of the top students in her class, shifting nervously from foot to foot. His usual confidence seemed to have deserted him. "Nana," he began, clutching his literature textbook like a shield. "I heard you're really good at literature analysis," and well, he paused, swallowing hard. "I'm struggling with the assignment on Things Fall Apart. Would you mind helping me?" Nana blinked in surprise. This was Chidi, the same boy who had once rolled his eyes when she answered questions in class. Yet here he was asking for her help. Of course she found herself saying, gesturing to the empty chair beside her, "Sit down." As they worked together, Nana discovered she had a knack for explaining complex themes in simple terms. Chidi's eyes lit up with understanding as she helped him unravel Achibi's masterpiece. "You make it sound so clear," he said, shaking his head in wonder. "Like you're telling a story instead of just analyzing one." Word spread quickly through the school grapevine. The next day, 2 more students approached her for help. Then 4 more. Soon, Nana's table in the library became a gathering spot for impromptu study sessions. Between preparing for the competition and helping her classmates, she barely noticed the shift happening around her. The whispers changed tone. "Did you hear how she explained the symbolism in that poem? She helped me get my first A in literature. Maybe we were wrong about her." Amaka watched it all with a knowing smile. "Look at you," she said one day, gesturing to the small group of students waiting for Nana's help. "You're not hiding anymore." Nana looked around at the faces that no longer held judgment, but hope and respect. She realized that in helping others, she had found her own strength. The rumors that once threatened to drown her now seemed to fade like morning mist in the sunlight. During one study session, a girl named Chioma hesitantly asked, "Why did you really leave Victoria Noble?" Nana, the old fear flickered in her chest, but this time, Nana met their curious gazes with calm confidence. "Sometimes," she said quietly, "the story people tell about you isn't the true one. That's why I'm determined to win this competition, to tell my own story, in my own words." The students nodded, understanding dawning in their eyes. They had come to know the real Nana, not through rumors or speculation, but through her actions, her kindness, and her determination to rise above the past. The auditorium buzzed with nervous energy as competitors from schools across the state gathered for the writing competition. Nana's heart nearly stopped when she spotted the cream and burgundy uniforms of Victoria Noble Academy. There, among her former schoolmates, sat the faces that had once turned away from her in judgment. Amaka squeezed her hand. "You've got this," she whispered. "Show them who you really are." When Nana's name was called, she approached the podium with steady steps. The lights felt hot on her face as she unfolded her paper, but her voice rang clear and strong as she began to read her story, a tale of a girl wrongly accused who found strength not in proving others wrong, but in becoming something more than their accusations. Sometimes she read, her words reaching into every corner of the hushed auditorium. The hardest person to forgive isn't the one who hurt you, but yourself for letting their words define you. As she read, she saw tears in some eyes, recognition in others. Her former classmates from Victoria Noble shifted uncomfortably in their seats. When she finished, the silence held for one breathless moment before the applause erupted. The judges huddled together, their whispered deliberations feeling like hours. Finally, the head judge stepped forward. "The winner of this year's stage writing competition," he announced, "is Nana Idris from Ika High School." The Ika High students erupted in cheers. Mr. John beamed proudly from his seat, while Amaka jumped up and down, screaming with joy. But as Nana made her way backstage to call her parents, a familiar voice stopped her. "Nana, wait." She turned to find Aisha, her former best friend from Victoria Noble, standing there with tears streaming down her face. "I'm so sorry," Aisha choked out. "I let jealousy control me. Those lies I spread about you and the teachers, I made them up because I couldn't stand how everyone admired you." Nana felt the weight of months of hurt and anger press against her chest. "You told a lie that got me kicked out of school," she said quietly. "I know," Aisha whispered. "I'll tell everyone the truth. I promise. I'll face whatever consequences come." Nana looked at her former friend, seeing not the confident girl who had betrayed her, but someone broken by her own actions. "The truth matters," Nana said firmly, not for revenge, but because lies hurt everyone they touch. As she walked away, Nana felt lighter. Her victory wasn't just about winning the competition, it was about reclaiming her story, her truth, and her dignity. Behind her, she could hear Aisha's quiet sobs, but ahead of her lay a future she had built with her own hands, word by word, truth by truth. News travels fast in school circles, and the aftermath of the state competition rippled through both Victoria Noble Academy and Ika High School like waves in a pond. At Victoria Noble, Aisha's confession set off a chain of events that shook the prestigious institution to its core. Miss Agatha, the principal of Victoria Noble, sat stern-faced behind her mahogany desk as she delivered Aisha's punishment. "Actions have consequences," she declared, her voice heavy with disappointment. "You will repeat this academic year. You'll watch your classmates graduate while you remain behind to learn the value of truth and integrity." The scandal didn't stop there. Mr. Thompson and Mr. Okafor, the teachers wrongly implicated in Aisha's lies, were dismissed from their positions. Though they were innocent of the original accusations, the investigation revealed they had failed to defend Nana or question the allegations against her, choosing instead to protect the school's reputation at the cost of a student's future. Meanwhile, at Ika High School, Nana's world transformed in ways she never expected. The whispers that had once cut like knives now carried different messages. "Remember when we thought she was just a stuck-up rich girl? She's actually amazing at explaining literature. Did you hear she's starting another study group?" Her study sessions, once held at a single library table, now filled entire classrooms. Students who had once avoided her eyes in the hallway now sought her out for help with their assignments. Even the boy who had first accused her of scandal approached her one day, shuffling his feet awkwardly. "I was wrong about you," he mumbled, staring at the ground. Would you help me with my essay?" Nana's smile was genuine as she gestured to an empty chair in her study group. "Of course, we're working on character development today." The crowning moment came when Mr. John called her to his office. Unlike her first day at Ika High, she now walked through the corridors with confidence, greeting friends along the way. The principal's stern face broke into a rare smile as she entered. "Nana," he said, pride evident in his voice, "you've done more than just win a competition. You've shown remarkable character in the face of adversity, your academic excellence, and the way you've helped your fellow students. You've made Ika High School proud." Tears welled in Nana's eyes as she replied, "Thank you, sir. Ika High gave me a second chance when I needed it most. I just wanted to pass that kindness forward." As she left his office, Nana realized that sometimes life's hardest challenges lead to the most beautiful transformations. She had arrived at Ika High broken by lies, but she would graduate whole, surrounded by true friends and genuine respect, not for who people thought she was, but for who she had proven herself to be. As Nana sat beneath the familiar mango tree on her final day at Ika High School, she couldn't help but marvel at how much had changed. The same ground that had once been her lonely refuge now buzzed with the cheerful voices of her study group, all gathering for one last session before graduation. Amaka plopped down beside her, their shoulders touching just as they had that first day when she'd offered friendship to a wounded soul. "Remember when you used to sit here all alone?" she asked, her voice soft with memory. "Look at us now." Indeed, looking around at the circle of friends surrounding them, Nana saw her journey reflected in their faces. Each person represented a lesson learned, a truth discovered about life and herself. There was Chidi, whose initial request for help had taught her that sometimes the best way to heal yourself is to help others. Behind him sat Chioma, whose skepticism turned to steadfast support had shown her the power of proving yourself through actions rather than words. "You know what I've learned?" Nana addressed the group, her voice carrying the weight of experience. "Life doesn't always give you what you want, but it often gives you what you need. I thought Victoria Noble was my dream, but losing it gave me something more valuable, the chance to discover who I really am." The afternoon sun filtered through the mango leaves, casting dappled shadows on their faces as students shared their own reflections. They talked about perseverance, how Nana had faced each challenge head-on, refusing to let rumors and whispers define her. They spoke of friendship, the real kind that stands beside you in storms like Amaka had done. But the biggest lesson, one student said, was watching you turn your pain into purpose. You could have stayed bitter, but instead you used your experience to help others. Nana smiled, remembering the countless hours spent explaining literature concepts, editing essays, and encouraging others to find their voices. Sometimes, she replied, our greatest challenges become our greatest gifts to others. As the sun began to set on their last day together, Nana looked at each face in turn. "Inner strength," she said thoughtfully, "isn't about never falling. It's about how many times you get back up and who you help up along the way." The group fell quiet, absorbing her words. In the distance, the school bell rang one last time for them, its sound carrying across the years of memories, struggles, and triumphs. Nana stood brushing off her uniform and extended her hands to help others up, a final gesture that symbolized everything she had learned about redemption, growth, and the beauty of second chances. "Ready?" Amaka asked, linking arms with her best friend. "Ready," Nana replied, knowing that while this chapter was ending, the lessons learned under the mango tree would guide her through whatever challenges lay ahead. Looking back on her journey at Ika High School, Nana could hardly recognize the girl who had first walked through those gates. That girl had been a shadow, head bowed under the weight of whispers, trying desperately to become invisible. Now, as she walked the corridors with confident steps, her transformation was evident in every aspect of her being. The change hadn't happened overnight. Like a flower slowly unfurling its petals, Nana's metamorphosis had taken time and nurturing. Each small victory, raising her hand in class despite the murmurs, starting study groups despite initial rejection, writing her truth despite the fear, had added another layer to her strength. Her voice, once timid and hesitant, now carried the quiet authority of someone who had found her place in the world. But Nana's transformation hadn't happened in isolation. It was Amaka who had first seen past the rumors to the person beneath. That day under the mango tree, sharing a meat pie and offering friendship without judgment, Amaka had planted the first seed of hope. Throughout every challenge, every setback, Amaka remained steadfast, her vibrant personality and unwavering loyalty providing the foundation Nana needed to rebuild herself. Mr. John, too, had played a crucial role. Behind his stern exterior lay a keen understanding of human nature. He had watched Nana's progress with the careful eye of a gardener tending to a struggling plant, stepping in with quiet support when needed, stepping back to let her grow when necessary. His office door remained open, a silent promise of support that gave Nana the courage to face each new challenge. Mr. Sam had been the catalyst for Nana's biggest triumph. His announcement of the writing competition might have seemed like a small moment, but his belief in her abilities had ignited a spark. Through his encouragement and guidance, he had helped Nana find her voice not just as a writer but as a person. Even Aisha, the architect of Nana's fall from grace at Victoria Noble, had her own journey of transformation. From the girl who had let jealousy poison her heart to someone who finally found the courage to face her lies, Aisha's confession had been both an ending and a beginning and an end to the old story of betrayal, and the beginning of a path toward redemption. Together, these characters had woven themselves into the fabric of Nana's story, each thread essential to the final tapestry. They had witnessed her evolution from the scared new student to the confident mentor, from the victim of rumors to the author of her own narrative. In their own ways, they too had grown. Amaka in her fierce loyalty, Mr. John in his protective guidance, Mr. Sam in his nurturing support, and Aisha in her journey toward truth. Looking at them now, Nana understood that true character development wasn't just about personal growth, it was about how that growth touched and transformed everyone around you. The contrast between Victoria Noble Academy and Ika High School was like comparing the polished diamond to a rough-cut gem. Victoria Noble boasted manicured lawns, air-conditioned classrooms, and pristine uniforms that marked its students as members of Nigeria's elite. Its halls echoed with the sound of proper English, and its walls displayed portraits of distinguished alumni who had gone on to become leaders in business and government. Ika High School, with its worn concrete buildings and crowded classrooms, told a different story. Here students shared textbooks and competed for the few functioning fans during the hot season. The uniforms were simple blue and white, often faded from countless washes, but worn with no less pride. The mixture of English and local languages created a vibrant tapestry of sound that reflected Nigeria's rich cultural heritage. Yet beneath these surface differences lay deeper truths about Nigeria's educational landscape. In both schools, students fought fierce academic battles, understanding that education was their ladder to success in a competitive world. The pressure to excel was constant, whether in Victoria Noble's state-of-the-art computer labs or Ika High's crowded study halls. Social dynamics played out like elaborate dances in both environments. At Victoria Noble, status was measured by designer bags and international holiday stories. Peer pressure manifested in subtle ways: the right accent, the right connections, the right appearances. A single misstep, like Nana's fall from grace, could shatter carefully constructed social standings. Ika High School's social hierarchy was no less complex, but more transparent. Here, respect was earned through character and capability rather than family names or bank accounts. Students formed alliances based on shared struggles and aspirations, creating bonds that often transcended social class. The national academic competitions served as great equalizers, where students from both worlds met on level ground. These events exposed the myth that quality education belongs solely to private schools. When Nana won the state writing competition, she didn't just win for herself or Ika High, she challenged the assumption that excellence was the exclusive domain of privileged institutions. Through Nana's journey, the story of Nigeria's education system unfolded in all its complexity. It revealed how students navigated between tradition and modernity, between local values and global aspirations. In both schools, young people carried the weight of family expectations and societal pressures, all while trying to find their own paths. The tale of these two schools, one private, one public, one wealthy, one modest, reflected the broader narrative of education in Nigeria. It showed how true learning and growth could happen anywhere, how character could be forged in any setting, and how the pursuit of knowledge could bridge the gaps between different worlds. In the end, both schools had taught Nana valuable lessons, though perhaps not the ones anyone had expected. Victoria Noble had taught her about resilience in the face of betrayal, while Ika High had shown her the power of authenticity and true friendship. Together, they had shaped her understanding of education's real purpose, not just to fill minds, but to build character.